I know you're headed to Marine Money soon. So, I mean, the conferences are all back after COVID, I guess. So what do you think will be the biggest themes coming up at Marine Money in New York? And what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, no, thanks, Chris. I'm super excited about Marine Money. It's been 3 years since we all got together there in New York. And last time I was in New York in 2019, I don't think you followed shipping back then, but there's some pictures of me. I had a black eye. A little bit of an accident right before the trip started. And so I was going around Marine Money and I had 26 company meetings set up, and he had this big ass shiner, and I'm on a panel and all this goofy stuff. So it's going to be fun to go back. I'm hoping I don't get a black eye this time. But no, I think enthusiasm would have been much higher 2 or 3 months ago. I think the looming global recession and the big collapse we've seen in some of these stock prices are going to weigh on sentiment a little bit. I don't think we're going to be popping quite as much champagne as we thought we might be popping. I think the number one theme, Chris, is really going to be focused on environmental regulations. Things like carbon credits, things like sustainable linked financing, things like new build transition, new propulsion systems, responsible recycling and demolition. I think those are really kind of the themes that are interesting. Maybe for me as an investor, maybe not so much, but I think at the conference, because keep in mind, this is an industry conference. You have the companies, you have the lawyers, you have the consultants, you have everybody there. So it's not just investors. In fact, investors are the smallest demographic that are probably going to be at this conference. In fact, in 2019, which was, as you probably remember, is a good time to be buying shipping stocks. There's like 10 investors in like the room. There's like 500 people there, and there's like 10 that are actual investors. So I'm hoping there's more investors this time around, a little bit less champagne than we thought, and a lot of focus on responsibility, sustainability, climate, that sort of stuff.
I mean, people say that all the time as shipping is a people business. So I'm just curious to ask you, what kind of information do you feel like you get from attending these physical events that you wouldn't be able to grasp sort of in a spreadsheet or reading analyst reports, etc.? What are you sort of looking for, and why is it important to attend to sort of get the feel? Is there something like, talking to the CEOs, some information that you just have to be there in order to collect?
From like a modeling perspective and from like a trading perspective, like, no, you don't need to be there. Sorry, Matt and Jim, and they don't need to go to your conference. But no. From an actual like business development perspective and from a deep understanding of the sector, like you would be crazy not to go to shipping, to Marine Money conference to learn about shipping. So like, I tell folks, if you live in the New York, region, Northeast region, and you have substantial money invested in shipping, like buying a ticket to Marine Money is the best investment you can make. And the tickets aren't cheap. They're $3,000 or something for the 3 days, but it's well worth your money because you're going to meet probably half or more of the shipping execs are going to be there. And normally it'd be like 75%, but I think we're still kind of reopening and still kind of, international travel is still a little tricky. But no, I mean, as far as like becoming comfortable with the management, the leadership, learning about competencies, I think when you meet somebody and you shake their hand and you put a name to a face and you can sit down and have a coffee together or maybe a beer, you get a little bit more comfortable with who's managing your shipping stocks or your portfolio and all that sort of thing. I think there's this general misconception, and it's a really bad one, that shipping is like full of a bunch of idiots and like they're all scoundrels or whatnot. And the truth is, many of these shipping companies, okay, well, first of all, there's always some truth. Anytime there's a rumor or something, there's always something there, right? But most of the shipping companies, especially the European ones, have phenomenal corporate governance. I mean, you look at companies like Euronav or Torm, or on the US side, you have companies like Starbulk, Eagle Bulk. The corporate governance at these companies is fantastic. In fact, it's better than the corporate governance at most of the firms in the S&P 500. So like there's this misperception that shipping has like this terrible governance. Secondly, there's this misperception that a lot of shipping managers are just idiots. They love ships, like they just measure their worth by how many ships they own. I think when you interact with the folks and get to know them and talk their strategy and understand their history and understand, their involvement in shipping for decades and decades, these guys have seen more cycles than, I can remember, and they've witnessed it and experienced it. You understand maybe some of the decisions they make. And you understand a little bit more about the capital allocation. There's so many people on Twitter that are sitting in their armchairs or their gamer chairs, and they're sitting there and they're just, they act like they can run these shipping companies better, or like they know where best to put the next dollar. Hey, dividends, dollar in your pocket, dollar in my pocket. I love it, right? But there's people that are literally saying, like last year, for instance, I'm going off on a little rant here, but last year there was a couple companies that ordered the dirtiest word, man. They ordered speculative new builds in container ships. One of the companies was Euroseas, ESEA. One of the other companies was Navios Partners, NMM. NMM ordered 10. Euroseas has now ordered 9, but they started off with just ordering 3. Now they've ordered 9. NMM has fixed all 10 of those speculative new builds, which, by the way, they got derided on Twitter and all these places, FinTwit. People who just don't know, they don't know anything about shipping. They're just deriding, how dumb are you to order a speculative new build? Haven't you seen the order book? And NMM has fixed all 10 of these ships on charters that pay for the entire ship in like 5 years. And it's a ship that's built for 30 years. The latest environmental specifications, it's going to outperform other ships by $20,000 per day. And they already paid for the entire ship in the first 5 years. Euroseas did one better. They bought 9 speculative new builds total. They've already fixed the first 2. Now the jury's out on the next 7. They fixed the first 2 at a charter that's so high that it pays for the entire ship in 3 years. And this is a ship that has 30 years of life, the latest environmental specs. They paid for the ship in 3 years in the first charter. So the reason why, and it's a long-winded answer, but if you go to Marine Money, you can sit down with folks like the CEO and CFO of Euroseas and be like, wow, these guys have been in shipping their entire lives. They've seen so many cycles. They know what they're doing. They're not idiots, right? And you can learn those nuances that you can't get from a spreadsheet, that you can't get from tweeting at people. And you can meet other people. Like I'm going to meet people that I only know online from Twitter. And, hopefully that'll be great. Hopefully we'll be able to share information and build relationships that you just can't build online. I mean, Twitter is kind of a funny place.
No, but I couldn't agree more. Like sometimes, I mean, you get so much more data points by meeting a person. And like you said, it's also easy to understand them in hindsight, right? Once they take a decision and after knowing them, you can maybe understand their thought process. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for watching that highlight. If you like this channel, please make sure to subscribe to it. I'll see you later.